Okay, so first of all, a lot of Tashidelik to all of you, starting from the lamas, Kempo, monks and nuns, and so many great practitioners are here today in this, the first day of the Kagyu Monlam. So I'm very fortunate to be here, and I'm very lucky and fortunate to be here, and I'm really happy to be here. And thank you very much for everything. So to all of you, as we all know, this is a very special day for all of us. Praying and practicing all together, Kagyu Monlam in Taiwan, in Kalu, and I am very happy to be here. And on the top of that, on the schedule, it has mentioned that the teaching in the afternoon. So even though I don't have a lot of experience, but with a lot of respect from my side, I would like to share a few words from my side to all of you. So first of all, I haven't been in Taiwan probably around 3 years. 3 years ago I was in Taiwan and Taipei doing my own thing and giving and teaching in Parliament, probably 3 to 4 years ago. And then after 3 years, coming to my own center, meeting my own student, teaching and talking with people. And then not long ago, probably like 2 weeks ago, two lamas, they came to my center and they told me, if I can make it to Kagyu Monlam, it would be really nice. They request me to come. And then I said, of course, my pleasure, with my deepest respect, and of course I'm happy to be in service of this Kagyu Monlam. So that's why I'm here today, right in front of you, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my own dharmic experience, as I mentioned. So I'm going to continue that. And then on top of that, in general, I would like to share a little bit of story about this Kagyu Monlam from my perspective. Of course, all of you heard the introduction way before anything I have mentioned, I will mention right now. But 1984. In 1984, the first Kalu Rinpoche, he went to Bodhigaya with his monks, with his holy tour to all the holy places. At that time, with a few number of monks, he started this Kagyu Monlam. And then he continued this Monlam every year, and he invited the previous Gyalwang Rinpoche, he invited Gyalwang Rinpoche, very often in Bodhigaya, they did the Monlam together. And then after that, previous Kalu Rinpoche passed away. Gyalwang Rinpoche, the disciple of previous Kalu Rinpoche, he continued the Kagyu Monlam in the same way, and he maintained and he took the full responsibility. And then after a while, His Holiness Gyalwang Karmapa, he took the responsibility of this Kagyu Monlam. So His Holiness improved and upgraded the Monlam very, very much, 10 times and 20 times way more than before. So seeing our Holiness great Dharma activity, and me being here, I'm really humbled, and I feel really blessed and fortunate to be here. So today we are here because we want to practice Dharma, and we want to practice the Monlam all together as a one family, and that's the only reason we are here. And in this 21st century, we have so many different perspectives and so many different directions the way we practice. Most of us, some of us, we practice in a very spiritual way. Some of us, we practice in a very religious way. Some of us, we practice in a very intellectual way. Some of us, we practice in a very simplicity way. All of us, we are all Buddhist Dharma practitioners, and we dedicate our prayer and our wish to all sentient beings, and that is absolutely a really positive movement. But I think certain improvement is necessary in our path of Dharma practice. Because anybody can practice, anybody can visualize, anybody can think positive. It's so easy. I tell you something to think or pray or visualize, we'll do that because we just copy that. But improving and adapting that quality of what you practice into your daily life, I think that is the priority by calling ourselves a Buddhist practitioner. Because practicing is easy, visualizing is easy, chanting is easy, but to bring the true quality and the message of the Dharma itself into our mind, into our habit, into our personality, that is our priority, that is our practice. What we do, chanting, praying, visualizing, that is a preparation. True practice is our reality. If we cannot overcome the problem that we face in the reality, then there's no point of practicing Dharma. So, what we do, chanting, visualizing, praying, behaving, thinking positive, because all these are preparation for ourselves to overcome the problem that we face in the reality world. So I think to recognize what is the priority and not just having a thought of what is priority, also improving your path, I think that is very important for all of us. Elder practitioner, young practitioner, new generation practitioner, old practitioner, traditional, non-traditional, all of us. I think certain improvement and understanding the priority and the true message of the Dharma and the practice itself, understanding and improving and practicing and adapting step by step, I think that is necessary. And then also in this 21st century, in this small planet we live in this very small planet that we live in, we actually think a lot. We say, oh, I want to be a modern Buddhist. I want to be an intellectual modern Buddhist practitioner. Maybe people need a modern approach. People don't need the modern approach. We don't need to create a new Buddhism. The way the Buddha is, all the teaching the Buddha left for us, I think is more than enough to make ourselves into the right path. So I think accepting the true meaning of Dharma is more important. Because, like example, we think a lot about impermanence. Like if we say in Tibetan, we say that Mitapa. We talk a lot about Mitapa. We talk a lot. We think a lot about Mitapa. We read a lot about Mitapa. We always see a lot of impermanence all around us. But the problem with us, including myself, is that we never did accept the meaning of impermanent at all. We just know it's impermanent. We are not accepting it. And that is the main obstacle in our Dharma practice. Because we always think through our minds, we never adapt the teachings of the Buddha into our heart. We just take it as a part of knowledge and we just keep it there. And whenever we like to use it, we use it a little bit. But I think, like example, like simple, like impermanence, meaning of impermanence is so simple. But if you understand the true meaning of impermanence itself, if you truly accept, then the Dharma practice is so easy to understand. When you couldn't accept the meaning of impermanence, even the great teaching cannot liberate your mind. So I think understanding the meaning of impermanence, studying about the meaning of impermanence, accepting is the main point. Accepting the meaning of impermanence by our heart, not just by our mind, I think that is really important. Because through that, our improvement into our spiritual understanding, the improvement towards the approach towards other people, that will actually help by understanding and accepting the meaning of impermanence. The longer you block the reality, the longer you will get stuck. So the sooner you accept the movement of reality, the sooner you will understand the true meaning of Dharma. I think that is quite important. Sometimes we are not actually practicing the Dharma along with the experience. Sometimes we are practicing Dharma just to fulfill our own desire, and that's the part of the main problem. Because we often practice very much to fulfill our own desire. You know, you just want to practice more. That is not how Dharma works. Wanting more, creating more desire is not how the Dharma practice works. The way the Dharma practice works, 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years later, even nowadays, it will only work. The way you practice, the way it will improve, the way it works is only through your teacher and keeping the commitment by yourself, by the teacher, and going along with your experience is important and it is necessary. Because nowadays we practice, including myself. I'm not saying I'm a great teacher or I'm Kalu Rinpoche and I never make mistake and you always make mistake. I'm not saying that. I made mistake also. I made terrible mistake. I made a lot of confusion. I made a lot of mistake. You know, and you and me, we are equally same. I have the name of Kalu Rinpoche and that's it. Other than that, I need to eat breakfast, I need to eat lunch, you need to eat dinner. We are equally same. You know, we are not so much different actually by the end of the day. You know, I achieved some spiritual experience and I'm sure you will achieve certain step of experience of your spiritual path. But the way we practice needs to be more accurate. Because most of the time we practice the Dharma to fulfill our own desire. Sometimes to practice the Dharma practice itself, you need to stop doing what you're doing. You need to stop and slow down. Slow down and then tell yourself, am I going in the right direction or in the wrong direction? Am I practicing properly or not? Am I keeping my samaya towards my teacher stable or not? Am I actually improving in my dharmic path or not? Sometimes to improve your Dharma practice, you need to stop. Then you can improve. Sometimes you need to continue. Sometimes you need to stop. But that kind of example can be given, will be given by your teacher and teacher only. And that is necessary. Yeah, my pride is telling me, Kalu Rinpoche, you are doing good. You know? That is something you need to recognize. Pride itself. Not enlightenment, not bodhicitta, not compassion, but pride. Pride will make you study everything, but pride will destroy everything, what you just practice and what you just study. Okay, so I think that whether we call ourselves dharmic practitioner or religious practitioner or spiritual practitioner or holy practitioner or lazy practitioner or bad practitioner or good practitioner, whatever you call it, whatever you are, doesn't matter. By the end of the day, we must recognize our own pride. That is priority, that is important. Because myself, when I receive teachings from my teacher, sometimes I never understood. Not because the way he teaches is wrong, not because the Dharma is wrong, because my pride is too high. That's why I never understood the Dharma. Sometimes Buddha is not his fault. Sometimes Buddhism is not so difficult to understand. Sometimes you just need to understand yourself a little bit better. And then you will understand the Buddhism much better. So, Because every time we call ourselves as a Buddhist practitioner or whatever the practitioner we call it, we always focus very much into the external ways, like you visualize Buddha or you visualize Tanka. We are very dependent by that. Of course, that is necessary in the first step. But I think by the end of the day, we must check our own state of mind. I think that is quite important. Because when I had a pride, when my personal experience, when I receive a teaching, a great teaching from a great teacher, whenever I receive teaching, sometimes I never understand the meaning of teaching, the meaning of Dharma, the meaning of Samaya, the meaning of the great teachers. Because my pride is always creating a problem. And then, so I think, whenever you receive teachings, whenever you practice Dharma, whatever you visualize or whatever you meditate, it's important to tell yourself that I do not know anything. And then you start your Dharma practice. Never start with your Dharma practice with, I know everything, and then start visualizing or start praying. Never start your practice like that. That was my personal experience. Because once you have that kind of a concept of yourself saying that I know everything, I am everything, and then that's the moment that you are blocking yourself from the beautiful blessing of the Dharma itself. So I think whenever we study or practice or visualize or meditate, it's important to tell yourself that everything around me is impermanent, and that is the reality. And I truly accept that. And myself, I do not know anything. And for that, I'm practicing this Gyalwang, or meditation, or visualization. So I think preparation for your small session of practice, preparation is more important than the actual practice. Because that will create a less distraction. Because anybody can do practice, anybody can do visualization, anybody can behave so nice and here and there. But practicing with the less distraction is our priority to improve our experience in a short time. The more we're distracted, the longer we will practice. The longer we practice, the more bored we are, and the more bored we are, the less value you see in Dharma. So I think recognizing your own distraction, recognizing your own pride is the priority, and once you recognize and admit that, and then anything is unstoppable for you. Anything can improve rapidly. That is my personal experience, and I share with you with my deepest respect. Thank you. So, as I said, like an example in this modern world, as I said, we need a teacher. Nowadays, the way we understand the meaning of teacher is very much different from the way it should be. And nowadays, the teacher and the student is a very, it's different. Because the way the spiritual Dharma practice works and the way the connection works between the teacher and student is that you must and you have to know your teacher. Teacher have to know the student. Without that knowledge, the whole idea of Buddhism, Dharma practice is not stable. So having a personal connection between the teacher, yourself and your teacher, I think that is very, very important. And, you know, in the Buddhist Dharma text, we say that we must see our teacher as a Buddha, or Vajradhara, or a great Bodhisattva. With all due respect, I must say something. Not against, but through experience. It's very, very, very difficult to see our own teacher as a Buddha. in the beginning, because we have no spiritual Dharma quality. We see the teacher's mistake. We see the teacher as a human being. That's how it starts. So, step by step, the more you receive teaching, the more you recognize yourself. The more you recognize yourself, the less pride it will be. And the less the pride there is, the more inner beauty will arise naturally. The more inner beauty, the more beauty experience arises naturally, the more value and the more great example that you will see within your teacher and the teacher's teaching. So for all of us, for the beginner, for the practitioner, for the first level beginner practitioner, for all of us, to see our teacher as a Buddha is very, very difficult. It was difficult for me. It is difficult for you. But if we practice step by step, with the retreat, with the prayer, with the visualization, with the meditation, with the commitment, and then one day you will see your teacher as a Buddha or as a Bodhisattva. Because most of us, the way we practice the Dharma, we always feel very obligated. We always tell ourselves that I must do the practice. I must visualize this deity. Otherwise, it's not good. We have this belief, I must do. If I don't do, it's bad. But when you look for what is bad, there's no bad itself. So very often when we practice Dharma, we always do the Dharma practice with the obligation. Practicing with the obligation will make a lot of obstacle, will discourage you very often. So I think the way to practice Dharma, I think we have to find a joy and a passion, and you must enjoy when you practice. We must find the passion when we practice. And to find that passion and positive energy, we must read a great example and a great story of all the great different teachers, of all the Buddha and all the Bodhisattvas. So by the reading of all the great example of the great teacher, it will inspire you, it will give inspiration, it will give you encouragement, so that you will find a joy and happiness when you practice the Dharma. That's how I improved, and that's how you will improve. And that is just one possibility that I have just shown you with my deepest respect. Okay, so now, what we also need to understand from my personal experience is that very often when we look at the Buddhism, the image of Buddhism is so huge. Buddhism, and then the enlightened being, or you will be enlightened, or you must be enlightened. That is the example, and that looks very, very, very high. And the Buddhism looks very, 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 very big. But we must understand the differences. Like, there's a Buddhism with the culture, there's a Buddhism with the tradition, there's a Buddhism with obligation, there's a Buddhism with the system, there's a Buddhism with the Dharma. So what we need is the Buddhism with the Dharma. And that is keeping a connection to your teacher and the practice. That is your Buddhism. So make it light as possible to understand the essence of the Buddhism. If you just look at the Buddhism, the picture of the Buddhism is very big. But what we need to liberate our own mind, to find our own happiness in our own mind, is only through by the Dharma, by the teacher, by the teaching, and by the effort of yourself. Nothing more, nothing less, and that's the simplicity. So calling ourselves a Dharma practitioner, we must continue and maintain the simplicity of the Dharmic path. That is very important. So the simplicity is very important, and I am not making a new Buddhist way of practicing. Example is right there if we look back. Not in the front, but in the back. In the history, how Buddhism started. Look at the example of Karmapa. How he lived and how he maintained. Look at the example of Milarepa. And then if we look at the example of Milarepa, he didn't create a huge here and there. He was so simple. Milarepa life story is very simple and a great example and quite inspiring for most of us. He made a mistake. He admits his mistake. He understands the meaning of samsara. He understands that everything is impermanent. He couldn't resist. So he wants to find, if I speak non-traditional way, he wants to find the Buddha nature. He wants to find the meaning of enlightenment. He wants to live in the moment, through the meditation practice, through the Dharma practice. So what he does is that he goes to the Marva, and then Milarepa receives teachings and instructions from the Marva. And the Milarepa, he goes to his own retreat. He practices for the rest of his life. And then when he shares the quality, everything he says is beautiful. So the simplicity of how Buddhism and Dharma works is not something new that I'm inventing it. I'm not inventing it. Because by the end of the day, when you practice truly by yourself, you understand how things work. But when you never practice, you have no idea how it works. Or maybe you just follow what other people are doing. So at the end of the day, 1,000 years ago, all these great beings are still human, and we are still human. They have this Buddha nature, we have this Buddha nature. By the example of them, we must achieve the same way. If not the same way, at least we must maintain the path of the simplicity, how Buddhism started, how actually Dharma works, how Dharma actually improves us, what kind of environment that we should choose in order to have a less distraction. So what I just told you is not something new. If you think that I'm saying something new, then you must be a very modern Buddhist Dharma practitioner. But if you look at the history of the Buddhism, there's so many great examples. We must not ignore that. We must study them. We must respect them. We must encourage ourselves by seeing all the great masters' story. So the order to, the way the Dharma works, it has been there 1,000 years ago. So I'm just a person who has the name of Rinpoche, and I'm just a person who is just trying to remind you. Nothing more and nothing less. And, like what he just mentioned, and it's not about, it's not about a different religion, it's not about different tradition of the Buddhism. It's not about that. It's about how the teacher works, how our mind functions, how Dharma actually improves. The example right there, so we must continue that. So, what do we need? We need teacher, we need time, we need place, we need practice, and we need experience. So that's what we need by the end of the day. But okay, so also, let me explain you one thing also, just coming through my own experience. Most of us, when we approach towards the Buddhism, when we approach towards the Dharma practice, what do we want? That's the question. Why we came to a Buddhist? Why we became a Buddhist practitioner, or why you became a Buddhist, right? So we ask question to ourselves, okay, I want to be a Buddhist because I want to live in the moment. But most of us, we became Buddhists to ignore the reality. That's the problem. Because many of us, including myself, as a Buddhist practitioner, at the beginning, the more I practice Dharma, the more I ignore the reality. But that's not how it works also. To improve your Dharma understanding and spiritual understanding, you must and accept the meaning of reality. And once you overcome the understanding of reality, and then the Dharma will improve, the Dharma understanding, the spiritual understanding, it will improve naturally. Because most of us, we believe in miracle. That's the problem. We believe in miracle. Problem. Big problem. Big problem. It makes obstacle for us the way to teach, and for the new people, the way they understand Buddhism. Because many of the people, ordinary people, they have a problem with the miracle. They do not believe in miracle. But once we start giving teaching of the Buddhism, or talking about Buddhism, a little bit something to do with the miracle here and there, then it sounds very unrealistic. Being a Buddhist practitioner, teaching a Dharma practice is all about being realistic, being stable, and being realistic is what makes us Buddhist practitioner. Being unrealistic makes us un-Buddhist. You know, so for all of us, we have an equal responsibility to be realistic and spiritual dharmic practitioner, and keeping that path much stable as possible. I think that is our own responsibility. Because most of us, even myself, I ignore so many movement and so many meaning of the reality. And I believed in miracles. Such as miracle does not exist. Buddhism does not provide superstitious or miracle. Buddhism provides tool and practice to make you overcome the problem that you face in a real life. And that's how Buddhism started. Not because Buddhism actually provided a miracle. You know, so if we be a realistic practitioner or preacher or explainer, and then people will understand more, it will be more transparent, it will be more accessible to our heart and towards our own life and mind. So I think being realistic and keeping our path stable in our dharmic path, I think that is quite important for all of us. So now we talked about simplicity, we talked about impermanence, we talked about being realistic, we talked about how Dharma actually functions towards our own mind. So now I will explain to you one more important part. And that is about living in the moment. Because when we live in our ordinary life, we want to make money, we want to be successful, we want to get a job. Okay, first we want to get a job, and then make a lot of money, work very, very hard, and you want to gain a lot of money, and then you want to have a family. You know, that's the whole life. You know, the way we want. And we just want more and 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 more. The way we think about a life is never ending. We think like we will live 1,000 years. That's how we think. But if you practice the Dharma path like that, I really think it will be difficult to improve in your spiritual path also. Because sometimes it's not about visualizing and praying every time. Sometimes, you know, try to understand few sentences of the great teachings of a great teacher, and try to remind yourself with a few sentences, and try to meditate along with that state. Try to live in the moment. You know, accumulating doesn't make you a great practitioner. Living in the moment will make you the example and the great practitioner. Many practitioners will believe in accumulation. Accumulating with no quality has no meaning. So accumulation towards our Dharma path and living in the moment, staying in that, and recognizing your state of mind, and also inspiring yourself with the great teacher and the great sentence of all the great masters, and reminding yourself and living in the moment, meditating 5 to 10 minutes maximum. 5 to 10 minutes. I think that is very important also. Visualization is also meditation. That is with the creation, and also meditating with no creation. I think that is also important. And so every once in a week, maybe once in every few days, try to meditate, try to make yourself calm and keep your mind clear as possible, and try to make your body in the meditation posture. And if you can't, keep your mind clear as possible and try to meditate a little bit, every once in a week or every once in a few weeks. I think that is very important for all of us, because we never live in a moment, we live in the future. Our mind lives in the future, that's the problem. Why we became Buddhist practitioners is because we want to live in the moment, we want to recognize the Buddha nature, we want to recognize our own positive quality. That's why we became a Buddhist practitioner, not because we want to live in the future. If we live in the future, then there's no difference living as other ordinary life. So calling ourselves a spiritual practitioner means living in the moment, seeing your mind, living in that state, inspiring yourself with the great spiritual understanding, and meditating makes you the practitioner. So that is my experience, and I share with all of you. So, because sometimes, example, like we call ourselves Buddhist practitioner, we call ourselves a spiritual Dharma practitioner. A beautiful name, beautiful name. But the reality of ourselves is quite lack of certain quality. So, like example, we visualize deity, like deity, or some of you visualize our Lokateshvara. And then we chant a lot. But our mind is somewhere else. Our mind is traveling around the world, and our body is very focused into the Dharma practice, but our mind is traveling around the world. That kind of a practice will never help us any time soon, or any time in the future, or any time in the past either. So I think that, we have to understand how practice works. Because if you focus on, if you're trying to, like an example, like chanting. Chanting is never meant for accumulating and reciting 100 to 1 million. It was never meant for that, the chanting mantra. Chanting mantra is more like a dedication and the guidance for your mind. But how it works nowadays is like everybody has a free mind, our mind is very distracted, but our mouth is not distracted. If that kind of a practice maintains, then of course it will never help us in the future. So understanding the priority, how to practice and way to practice, I think that is really important. Because first I thought that chanting a lot will help me a lot. But end of the day, chanting is dedication for you to protect yourself from the distraction so that you can, focus very much into your visualization. So if your mind is distracting, chanting can help you to refocus into what you're visualizing. That's what chanting means. That's what visualization practice means. But what we do nowadays is we always want to reach a certain limit. We always want to start and finish. That's the problem, big problem. We practice Dharma with I want to start and I want to finish. When you have the idea of the spiritual Dharma practice to be finished, then you are very mistaken. Because Dharma practice and spiritual practice never finishes, long as your mind, So, whole idea of finishing something needs to be stopped any moment, any time, soon. So if we can focus with the I want to start and I want to continue. If you have that kind of a way of thinking about Dharma practice, and prayer and practice, and for other people, for yourself, then it will help you a lot. But if you have a whole idea and concept about the practice that I must start now, I must finish, I must reach certain number, then everything will go wrong. That is my personal experience. So never make a limit towards your own Dharma practice. Keep it limitless, keep it clear and limitless as possible. And I think that will bring more stability, not just in your path of Dharma, but also in your life. Once our mind is more stable, the life is more stable. If the mind itself is not stable, the life is unstable. So understanding your mind, bringing a stability in your mind is very important. And the life, and the whole reality, the whole meaning of impermanent, it will be stable, it will disappear, and it will dissolve by itself. So understanding and recognizing and maintaining the stability of your mind, and understanding the right concept, the way to practice, I think that is important. Thank you. And I think that is also important for all of us to know your own limit. We tend to push ourselves more than our own limit. You know, so as a practitioner, we must know our own limit. Because like an example, when you practice the Dharma, everybody says, practice this and practice that and receive this and receive that. And then when you ask question, why I need to receive that? And then they say, oh, because it's important for you, it's important for you, it's important for you, it's important for you. Just because it says important doesn't mean that you can understand or help yourself with that tool or with that particular practice. So don't bring so many unnecessary importance for yourself when you yourself are not ready. You know, just because it says it's important doesn't mean that you understand right away. So going and moving step by step, by the guidance of your own teacher is necessary for ourselves. And then like when we have a question, doubt in our practice, we must express to our own teacher. We will make mistakes. Why? Because we are practitioner. That's why we make mistake. If you are a practitioner who never make mistake, you are liar. You are lying. You know, we are all practitioners, including myself. So we all make mistake. We are walking in the same path, and we all make mistake. It's okay to make mistake, but the mistake has a limit. The limit can be drawn by your teacher. So that's why whatever we have a problem with our own experience, in our dharmic way, in a spiritual way, in our life, we must express towards our teacher so the teacher can direct our path of Dharma practice. And I think keeping a personal connection is necessary. Okay? So now we will do a short meditation. Okay, so may I have your attention please, all of you. Please make your body much comfortable as possible. Make yourself comfortable, that's what I'm trying to say. Make yourself comfortable, yeah, exactly. And then if you have a cell phone, pick it, please keep it on your side, keep it silent. If you have a notebook, keep it on your side. Please do not be distracted. And I will give you a small steps of instructions, way to do meditation, and then we will do all together. It's important to start the Dharma practice in a short time. You know, because it's important to start your practice with a short period. Because most of us, when we start Dharma practice, we start with a large number, we start with a huge visualization, we start with a long practice. Starting with a long practice will slowly develop your experience. Starting with a short session will give you more energy, will give you more example, will give you more encouragement to do more and don't stop. So for all of us, I think that starting with a short amount of time is important. And once we do with a short time, 5 to 10 minutes, take a break, 5 to 10 minutes, take a break. And then once you do that, and once you find kind of a joy and passion, and once you find a little bit of experience, and once you find a little bit of quality, and a little bit of balance, and a little bit of improvement in yourself, not your mind, but in yourself, when you look through by your experience, and then you want to do a little bit more. Maybe you want to improve. So then, once you find that quality, the time is not the problem. Once we find the passion and the value and the quality of the Dharma and the experience of yourself, time is not a problem. Finding the passion, finding the joy, finding the quality and experience within your practice is the problem. So we need to see that, we need to improve that, we need to bring that, and the time, how long you do, is not a problem. How long, once you find the true essence of the practice itself, the time will increase naturally. That is my personal experience. Because the more you push yourself when you're not ready, the more you push yourself when you're not experienced, the more you stop, the more you are discouraged. So, starting with a short period of time, and once you find the improvement in yourself and the passion, you will be unstoppable. At the time will be not a problem. So finding a joy when you practice is important, not just doing the practice. Because most of us in the beginning, we are just doing the practice. Doing the practice and doing the practice with your passion and positive energy is very, 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 very different. Because when you just do the practice, it's more like, oh yeah, so I will do this, I will visualize this, I dedicate, I pray for people, I think like that. You're just doing the practice. But when you actually doing the practice with your passion and from your positive energy, and then you're feeling very energetic, and then there's so many blessings will come to you, and there's so many great knowledge will appear naturally. So finding a passion when you practice Dharma is more important than just doing the practice of Dharma itself. Very often we call ourselves a practitioner, and then we actually tend to show other people how much you practice, how many times you did, and how long you did. That's the kind of a medal we show to other people and your classmates. You know, we say, okay, I did a long practice, or I did a long retreat, or I chanted this long. I think we should change the concept. Instead of saying how much you did practice, we should tell ourselves how many times I have been distracted. You know, telling yourself that, I think that is important. How many times that I have been distracted. And reducing that is more important than telling yourself that how long you actually practice. Okay, so now make your body much comfortable as possible, and then if you can keep your body straight, that will be nice. And if you're feeling very warm, take off your clothes, and take off your clothes and keep your body fresh, and that will keep your mind fresh. Otherwise, if you take yourself like that and very much into something else, and then you better go to sleep. So then that's why you should just keep your body fresh and keep your back straight. If you can keep your back straight, our channel, the breathing channel, will be more stable. And then if the breathing channel is more straight and stable, our oxygen is more easier to breathe. If our oxygen is much easier to breathe, then our mind is more calm and relaxed. So that's why physically, mentally has to balance together in order to find the perfect practice. When our mind is clean and calm, our back will be straight naturally. Don't worry how your back should look like. If our mind is unclear, then your body will be in a different direction. So I think to keep your mind clean and calm, and accepting that everything around you is in meaning, is everything around you is permanent, impermanent. So keep your back straight, and keep your back straight. You don't have to look your eyes towards your nose. You can just keep your eyes much comfortable as possible. And right now, today, our visualization is an image of our visualization is our Lokiteshvara. Okay? So whenever we visualize our Lokiteshvara, like for example, when we visualize our Lokiteshvara, our mind will be very often distracted. Once, your mind will be very distracted into what you feel, what you hear, what you see, what you think, or the thought. Yeah? So when you have the reflection of your own mind, when you have all different kind of thought and different kind of image appearing from your own mind, try not to follow your own thoughts. The more you don't, the less you follow, the more it will dissolve. The more you follow, the more it will appear. So keep your body much comfortable as possible. When all the disturbing thoughts arise in your mind, try not to give it any kind of attention. Try to focus back your mind towards the visualization of our Lokiteshvara, and then visualize our Lokiteshvara in two arms. The right hand holding a vase, left hand holding a lotus, and sitting in a sitting posture will be like a green Tara, white color, white skin color, and beautifully dressed, real as possible, a little bit transparent as possible. Believe in your visualization. Okay, now I will start. Visualize our Lokiteshvara. Focus towards your visualization. then, now, try to think that our Lokateshvara himself has been dissolved into your body, special mind. And then try to meditate by seeing no difference between the Avalokiteshvara body, special mind and then your body, special mind. Try to meditate in that state 1 second. Okay. Thank you very much for your effort. Thank you very much for your effort, and all the temples and lamas and all the monks and nuns and the ordinary Dharma practitioner. Thank you for your time, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you so much for everything to each and every one of you. Thank you very much, and have a good evening to all of you. Thank you. And hopefully in the future I can be in service to help you in the future. And wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
谢谢大家。